terms might influence that offer for the neighborhood for the better. I mean, that would be my concern with that particular issue. However, I do agree with you in that this issue is such an important issue. And that's why I kind of like Ms. Wilkerson's approach of, bringing it together as a comprehensive issue where we're not just talking about the garage, but we're talking about all the parking in the downtown district and how it all fits together. And I think it goes well with our conversation on, switching from one-way streets to two-way streets downtown and how that would how that whole puzzle would fit together. I would approve discussing downtown parking in that context in terms of the larger picture and how it all fits together. But with regard to specific offers, I'm a bit hesitant, and I understand, I completely agree that we have rehashed this and hashed it out just on my short term on the commission in closed session. But I still would be nervous of how disclosing those details would affect, that possible pending offer. Does that make sense to you?
It does. I say a few more things, and somebody stop me if I'm crossing a perceived line or something. I guess it is. I don't think there's any harm in noting. Okay. Well, I guess first of all, the offers that have been made to the city aren't really that secret. I mean, sometimes I hear about sometimes I hear about sometimes I hear about offers as a rumor on the street before we're even informed about the offer by staff in closed session. So, I mean, the information is out there, at least among some of the prospective parties. So they're getting the information either way. It's the broader public that isn't privy to that, and the broader public, I don't think, can really drive the price that much. I guess having said that, it is no secret, I think, that an offer has been made to the city. I really don't think I'm crossing the line by saying that. It's no secret that somebody has, this offer's been on the table for a long time, has offered to buy it for $1, for example. Obviously, we have not sold the parking garage for $1, but when we're discussing things in terms that insubstantial or immaterial, then the public discussion, if it drives the price, it can only drive the price up. If it drives it down, it doesn't matter. I mean, the difference between selling it for $1.50 is negligible, right? But
that's particular offer, yeah.
Sure. Sure.
Excuse me. I think I think we have to look at all the terms as a package, rather than the one specific term that's been mentioned. And in that context, I think we're getting close to maybe deviating from specific information. I just bring that up. I'm no lawyer.
I think we do need to be careful about mentioning the rest of the terms, just because if we are going to get another offer, then whoever would make the other offer would then tweak his or her specific terms based upon the terms on the table. So the city may not get as good an offer from this next person as is on the table now. So I would just request that we be careful about discussing the specific terms.
In regard to your proposal to discuss it now, I would not be in favor of doing it this time. No, we got voting here. The rest of the commission, we just sort of looking around here. I picked up from Commissioner Turner, probably you're not inclined to have an open discussion on this time.
Sure, not the specific details.
Yeah. And I would not be, and Commissioner Hidden would not be. Also, as part of this, talking on the setback, my understanding that our grant person, Rebecca, has a report or something regarding this from the state. So would you please come forth and add what information you have?
Okay. One more comment.
Yes, one more. If the commission chooses to go with the 6 spaces or the 12 spaces, and something happens with the parking garage, it's demolished, it's refurbed, whatever, those 3 spaces in the cutout directly in front of the parking garage are going to be closed. So this may be very temporary depending on what happens, because you can't demolish, rehab, or whatever with those spaces occupied by vehicles. So that's something worth considering. Thank you. Ms. Hall.
I don't have a whole lot to report. I just wanted to let you know that we did send the letter out on the 26th, and it was received by the Transportation Cabinet. They have reviewed it and sent the request to the Federal Highways, and I spoke to them today, and they're still in discussions with Federal Highways, so I would request that if you do make any decisions, that you just put the disclaimer on there upon approval by the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet and Federal Highways, just to keep us all safe.
Just to be clear, we can't make any decisions today.
That's right.
Obviously, we have to vote in meeting. Did they, Rebecca, if you don't mind me asking, did they seem to indicate that they would be back to us before our voting meeting, or?
She didn't say one way or the other. I'm sure if it was just up to local programs, they could, because they're based right here in Frankfort, they know the area very well. But since they're having to go to Federal Highways, and I don't know where we are in line on that, so I can certainly call tomorrow and request that they get it back, that if we can possibly get it back by that time.
I mean, I don't know about the rest commission, but I would certainly like to know what the feds have to say about this before moving forward, officially.
Okay, Commissioner Mauger.
So respecting the commission's wish to not discuss the sale of the property or anything like that, I guess I still have a couple of separate feelings I'd like to put on the table. Because I've been pretty torn about this. The city spent about $1 million securing the full rights to the structure, and that $1 million wasn't necessarily spent, this is a previous commission, but that $1 million wasn't necessarily spent to produce more parking. It was spent because the structure was deteriorating. And so we had to secure the rights to the entire space just to be able to give ourselves the opportunity to do something, to deal with it one way or the other, whether or not it's repair, demolish, sell, etc. The point is that we do have $1 million invested in this area. I've got pretty mixed feelings about either if we're going to handle the space unilaterally, where we don't sell it or anything like that. But between the options that are on the city's plate, I think it's no secret that it essentially boils down to either rehabilitating the structure or demolishing it and creating a surface lot. And those are really, in terms of what we can do in and of ourselves, and I've got pretty mixed feelings about either option. I feel good about either option to the extent that we have more parking downtown. I mean, that's obviously the benefit of either. A lot of folks have raised concerns about taking it down to a surface lot and about the hole that would put in St. Clair, which on one hand sounds like a frivolous aesthetic concern, but I don't think it's frivolous. It's the streetscape and the character of downtown seriously, matter to the further development of downtown. In terms of pros and cons, we'd be trading facade for, even if we put some nice bushes around, for what would still be some pretty ugly parking spaces, especially since we'd be looking at the back end of the church on the other side of the building. Very, very beautiful church from the front, but air conditioners and whatnot aren't really aesthetically appealing. The rehabbing the structure is a hard pill to swallow as well, because, as people have noted, the parking structure was never really used that much when it was open in the first place, and it's no surprise that it wasn't used much. It is very poorly designed. You have a lack of signage for parking downtown is one policy problem that I think we should go ahead and address. I keep bringing this up, but that's a problem that we can address, that I think we should address. Because even right now, we at least use signage to direct folks to the Sullivan Garage, which does have roughly 150 spaces empty during the day, and lots of people don't know about it. That was one of the other problems with the parking structure on St. Clair when it was open, as if people had to magically know you had to drive down this one-way street and turn down this one-way alleyway and enter this invisible garage from the rear in order to park there. I mean, there were lots of folks who would go on St. Clair who didn't realize that there was a parking garage right there. So the design and the access are problems. Lots of women in particular didn't feel safe in the garage because it was so dark and honestly it wasn't very inviting parking structure. I mean, the ones that are open around the edges, like the Sullivan garage, feel comfortable enough. But this one was entirely closed, it was dark, it was dank and wet, musty, and I would have a hard time justifying spending, $2 million tax dollars rehabilitating a structure that probably shouldn't have been built the way it was in the first place. That kind of feels like throwing good money after bad. There's pros and cons of it. I think the ideal, not getting into the details of selling it, the ideal would be, frankly, the ideal, if we had a magic wand or if we had all the money in the world, I'd love to take it all the way down and rebuild it, rebuild something that makes sense with office and retail on the street level, with the parking actually accessible from the St. Clair side with an open structure. I mean, we don't have that kind of money, and we haven't been able to get a firm bite from any private investors who would find that cost effective either. But one thing we might be able to do, if we are willing to take more time on it, would be to declare the area blighted, which in all fairness it is. I think it doesn't seem like it would be reasonable to declare the area blighted. Actually apply for the TIF that we didn't apply for out of the Parkside development, and try to actually get some state tax increment financing, or essentially some tax breaks to develop blighted properties. I mean, it seems like there may be some things we can do to make the space more attractive to a private investor. I mean, they require taking more time, they require taking some steps. But having said that, I agree with what Natalie Wilkerson said, and I'd be really happy to hear from, we've got DFI reps here as well, and the chamber. But I would be pretty open to the idea of actually studying the broader problems of parking downtown, because I'm sure there are some things we can do policy-wise to help alleviate the situation. I mean, we've got state workers parking on the street instead of in garages. There's got to be some way we can work with the state to get them off the street. We've got businesses whose employees are parking on the street, sometimes right in front of the business, sometimes all day long. And it seems like the parking enforcement, it seems like folks are cut a little bit of slack if they're regulars, so to speak. And those are the folks that are creating the parking problems downtown. So anything we can do to get the folks who are working downtown to park in the existing parking structure. The Sullivan garage has a lot of space in it. I mean, so if we could somehow find a way to work with other agencies and to adjust policies to get some of the existing cars off the street, that would be a release valve right there. Again, we're talking about something that takes time, effort, and studying. But I agree that it wouldn't hurt to do some more due diligence on what we maybe could do with the garage. For example, this might be completely unrealistic. I'm not an engineer. This probably is unrealistic. But I mean, gosh, even if we could just take away the garage and leave just the bottom floor of parking up, as a surface lot on top of the offices, who knows? I mean, I don't know what's realistic and what isn't. But I wouldn't be opposed to spending some time. I know this is something we want to deal with, but anything we do is going to cost a lot of money and is going to be relatively permanent. Even just the 12 spaces, even just putting that paint on St. Clair is something that would be hard to reverse. So I wouldn't be opposed to spending more time doing some due diligence, exploring the opportunity for state tax financing or tax increment financing, seeing what we can do policy-wise to help alleviate things too. I mean, I want to deal with this yesterday as much as anybody. But the options that we're looking at just aren't pretty. And absent a private investor coming in and rescuing everything, which I mean, fingers crossed, maybe that'll happen this month. I'd love to hear from other folks who are here about this.
Now, what is this now? you want,
If we wouldn't mind hearing from some.
He suggested you wanted to hear
Okay.
DFI's position on some of this stuff.
okay.
I'm Terry Bennett, I'm the president of DFI, and just to confirm everything that's been said tonight, Commissioner Wilder, I think those are all great ideas. I think Ms. Wilkerson's idea is really great. In fact, DFI has been looking into trying to pursue some grant funds that might be incorporated into a big master plan. That's one thing that's not been discussed, is how do you pay for the study? And we have actually already identified maybe some potential grant funds that might need to be matched somewhere along the line, that we could do a master plan that would incorporate the parking, that would incorporate the two-way traffic back and forth and all that. So basically, I'm just encouraged to hear everybody talking more long-term solutions than short-term solutions. And just as an official statement, the surface lot really doesn't appeal to us just because of the aesthetics and because of the short-term limited number of spaces that go with it. We'd be much more in favor of something that was much grander as far as the number of spaces that can be allowed to be put downtown. So.
Thank you. Okay, Commissioner.
Just one thing I think we have to keep in mind too is we have a need to get something done in time to accommodate the judicial center. Because they're going to need at least 30, we promised 35 spaces. So I think we just need to make sure we have that timeline in mind and know where that final deadline is, so to speak. We can't really go past.
Commissioner Hayden.
When the city bought the garage, it was for $1 million, is that correct, what you said? Who did we buy it from?
Several, if I can,
Yes, sir.
we bought from several property owners. The Marcus, Elliot Marcus had an interest in that property. Alice Hugh had an interest in that property. I believe it's the Hendricks heirs had an interest in that property. And an individual named Robert Caney had an interest in that property. So it was kind of an unusual situation because you actually had two separate pieces of property that the parking garage sits on, and the two pieces of property were owned by different entities or individuals, and then the first floor building itself was owned by yet another entity called New Market. So it was.
Was it your family too?
Yeah, I was going to say, I want to disclose too. When those negotiations were going on, I always left the building when they go to the closed session, so I didn't get a chance to vote. I didn't even know the negotiations of what was being said by the city, because I had relatives that owned that property. Not the building, the land. To this day, I still don't know what all was discussed, so I wouldn't be accused of going back and telling people what the offers were. So, just for the record, I didn't even vote or participate for that very reason.
Okay, let's try to come to some type of resolution on this. The topic was the parking model for Sanctuary Mall. From what we've looked at tonight, there's three options, it seems to me. Do nothing, sort of say we wanted to support, and here's A, that was recommended by the chief, or B. Now then we also had a discussion about don't do anything right now to get a long-term study. So, Commissioner Hayden.
There was one more to wait from the feds before we, I guess we can make a decision, but it doesn't really matter, if it's.
Of course, we made decisions.
Right.
We understand tonight, but we can't be voting, but you try to get a feel
Right.
for what the commission would like to do. So, Commissioner Hayden, what do you sure?
I would like to wait and hear back federally, make sure it's okay, but I could support A, but not B. I could support do nothing or A.
And with the caveat that was mentioned that if something is done with the having a parking garage, is that right, Chief? that there'd be understanding that these parking spots would be removed. All right, Commissioner Turner?
Mayor?
I tend to support Plan B just because of the amount of parking, but A is perfectly fine with me. I think it's it's a good deal too. Obviously, we want to hear back from the federal government and what they how they feel about the situation, and certainly would be willing to go with the commission. And even if we don't on this particular issue, I still think that we got to look at comprehensive parking plan for downtown, regardless of if we want to include this aspect of the debate in that comprehensive plan or not. But when just looking at these two proposals, either one I'm happy with. B adds more parking, so I tend to lean to B on that. But obviously, want to push and press for a bigger discussion on parking in downtown.
Mr. May?
Yeah, I think it's perfectly safe to go with commission. I think we can go with, as was previously said, A would be okay, I think, and I don't think it would require any striping. Well, I guess we put something down. Those
Just a little T.
Yeah, those can be taken up on the bricks if need be, so I can do A to help try to alleviate some of the concerns with the needed immediate help with parking. I mean, 6 spaces is not the best answer, but at least gives something. And I do agree we need to do something sooner than later on the parking.
Okay. Since we did, of course, we get something else in Mr.
Yes, please. My name is John Gray, and I'm a property owner on St. Clair. And we've been asking for 20 years to get some parking in St. Clair. As you know, there was a pedestrian mall, a failed pedestrian mall that was there, where there was no parking, no access. Excuse me. The parking structure's been closed since, I believe, 2005. So, we're going on 7 years that it's been closed. And I guess when you make your decision on what you're going to do with the parking structure, would it be too much to ask of you all to set a self-imposed deadline and say, we're going to make a decision by such and such a date? We keep coming back month after month, and, no decision has been made, or you come back and, oh, there's somebody else that might make an offer. If that doesn't get accepted, there's somebody else. I mean, it just seems to me that this goes on and on and on, and the issue of parking on St. Clair has been going on and on and on for 20 years. And I don't think it's too much to ask that you all say, by a date certain, you're going to make a decision and let people know what that date certain is. And I think what happens to the St. Clair parking garage, you all said, an extra six spaces, maybe won't make that much difference, but 6 spaces in the absence of 5 years of no parking at all, it is important to people. And as I've said before, there are 2 kinds of people. There are people like Chris Miller who are trying to make a living down there, and there are people that don't have anything invested in St. Clair that maybe like the way it looks. I guess in the past, the commission's always chosen form over function, how it looks rather than whether it works or not. I guess I just think that the people that are trying to make a living down there deserve a little more, that their position needs to be given a little more weight than people that have this idea that it's a community gathering space and that you need to maintain the way it looks right now. So.
Okay.
I promise.
Yes, sir.
Because I participate in these meetings, I'm Bill Call, and I'm the president of the Grand Theater. Of course, we have a property on St. Clair, but I guess really my comments more as someone who has been involved in the development and operation of a parking garage in Lexington, has served on the parking committee over there, and has also observed downtown here and been downtown for a number of years. And like John, my concern, not that I'm opposed to studies, is a finite schedule of making a decision on this that I have believed, not because I don't care about aesthetics, because obviously the restoration of the Grand Theater where our offices are, my home, you know, we do care about that, but that a decision needs to be made. I have great concern that an offer, as a taxpayer, you all, if you were going to sell the garage, need to make certain there is a commitment in the short term to restore the garage, and in addition, to bring it to code so that it is compliant. Otherwise, I think you expose me as a taxpayer to liability if something happens in that garage. So, now, do a study, whatever, but just we've talked about this now, as John said, for many years, and I think something promptly to move ahead on a schedule. I actually think the city probably should create a parking committee to deal with these things, a parking authority, whatever, to take it off the table here over and over again without decision getting made, and to let someone make a recommendation who spends time working on that. But thank you all.
Okay, thank you. I feel that what I'm feeling today from our discussion is that we are trying to come to a time certain. That's the way I'm feeling. I'm thinking of this as I hear the discussion, the 6 spaces to be implemented, which could be, with the caveat, that could come to us, could it not, Mr. Moore, about the 6 spaces that come to us for this month over?
Yes, sir.
For that phase of that, as I said, the parking garage itself, I have been vocal. That is, man, personally, that is my #1 thing I want to see resolved. And so I am, me personally, I'm on a timeline in my head, and I'm hopeful that these things can be resolved quickly. We know there is a date certain we have to have it. But either the garage renovated and operating, or it's down and parked in surface parking prior to the Justice Building being completed and then moving back in, which I'm told is September of 2013. That's the project date that I've been told. So we want to get that done. And I know your frustration, I feel your frustration, but this, I see that if the 6 parking spots could be of help and could be done quickly, we are going to be meeting, discussing the parking garage. And I think, in my personal opinion, there's serious intent on the part of the commission to try to resolve that quickly. And hopefully, it will come to something in the very near future. Commissioner Walker.
A couple of things. In regards to the on-street parking on St. Clair, A or B, it sounds to me like we've got